Good morning, venters. Oh my goodness, I heard the most disturbing thing ever yesterday. And I've heard it kind of hinted at the last handful of days. But yeah, let's talk about it. It's really bizarre, and it's really kind of sad, and it was really eye-opening. But did anybody else hear these horrible rumors that are being spoken about by people like Jaguar Wright and these ex-people that were related and friends of Diddy and part of his entourage, right, that have fallen away from the performer or from the guy? Well, what I heard yesterday, and what I heard over the past couple days, I should say, was it sounds like he did some really horrible things to Justin Bieber. And it sounds like Justin Bieber was kind of groomed by Diddy, at least allegedly, right? And it also sounds like the person that delivered Justin Bieber to P Diddy to do these horrible things to him was actually Usher. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever I think of Usher, I always saw him in a positive light. His whole career, he's always come across as somebody in a positive. His name was always mentioned in positive stuff. This is about the most horrible thing that can be a person can be accused of, to deliver somebody to the hands of a predator. And from what I understand, both Usher and Justin Bieber have both had situations where they've been sent to the hospital with basically their rectum destroyed by men. And I don't know about you, but that sounds like the most horrible rumor. And again, this is alleged. This is not something that I know of by any means. These are just rumors that have been swirling around on YouTube and stuff. But my goodness, if the rumors are even partially true, oh my God, it sounds to me like in order for Justin Bieber to make it to that level of fame, it sounds to me like he had to do some really gnarly things at the age of 13, 14, 15. And there's even video of there's even video of Diddy sitting there, standing next to Justin, kind of pressuring him like, hey, how come you don't want to hang out with me anymore? And it's just the most uncomfortable conversation ever. Now, if you're along the lines of, hey, innocent until proven guilty, I can totally understand that. So again, remember, we're just talking allegedly. But man, if those rumors are true, then it makes it look like Usher could be going off to jail for the rest of his life. It makes it look like Diddy should be. And it makes it look like maybe this describes, or maybe this is why Justin Bieber, as he's become a young adult, maybe this is why he doesn't always look so darn happy. My God, every time they show Justin Bieber, he looks like an old ad in the 90s for perfume and cologne. You remember in the 90s, they would always show this grungy looking person that looked like they were addicted to drugs. And those were the models for perfume and cologne back in the day, and for clothes. And that's what Justin Bieber looks like. He looks like somebody that's been through a hellacious childhood. But think about this. Before these rumors, you would have said, oh my God, Justin Bieber must have had the best childhood ever. He became famous off of YouTube, and he was a teen heartthrob. Well, you know what? If the price of fame includes having to give up your butt to famous men in order for you to be famous as well, oh my God, that is the worst thing I've ever heard. So my hope and my prayer is that this is actually part of the allegations that aren't true. Because if they are true, then oh my God, it sounds to me like we need to take a lot of famous people and put them in the jails, put them in prison. You know, they say that whatever you do in the dark comes to the light. A lot of times you look at this stuff and you just think, oh my God, there's no way that a mom or dad could let their child go through this evil. But what else can you say about Justin Bieber's mom and dad? How do you let your son go and hang out with a guy like that? And it's funny because, you know, you got to think of it from the parents' point of view. They probably had little to no idea that something like this was going on. But when you look back at the videos, it's just like, oh my God, what the fudge did they do to Justin Bieber? Oh, you know, I'm convinced after what I've heard about the kid actors on Nickelodeon and the kid actors that have been messed up by Hollywood, I'm convinced that if you still take your voting advice and different advice from these people that are no different than you and me, other than the fact that they've got this money that corrupts them, oh my goodness, we need as a country to quit listening to what these famous people think, what they're all about. We need to quit believing that what they think is cool is cool. We need some sort of revolution in this country. We have been listening and influenced by these people that, let's face it, a lot of them are just horrible human beings. You know, there are some of us that tell ourselves, if I were to win the lottery, I would take that money and there's so many good things that I would like to do with it, right? They would be really philanthropic. They would give. It would really better not only them, but it would better others because they would do good things with that money, right? But then I think we have to admit there are some people that would use that money to just do horrible things. Money and power do have a tendency to corrupt people. You know, there's that saying that we all grew up with, that money is the root of all evil. You know, I think that if you're an evil type of person, money is going to make that even worse, right? But I do believe, on the other hand, that if you're a decent person and you have a good moral compass to go by in life, I think that you could do a lot of good things with money. One of the things that I really focused on over the last 5 or 10 years of my life is the idea of minimalism. I think that if you can see that you can do more with less, right? That sometimes less is more. I think you can really do a lot of good in this world. I would like to think that if you honestly put millions of dollars into my bank account overnight, I would like to think that I would still wake up and celebrate that the next morning with a walk. You know, if you can take walks, if you can realize that it's not the amount of cars that you have, it's the ability to go from point A to point B. It's not how much money you have in your bank, it's the ability to be able to feed your family and be able to survive that really matters and counts, right? And you want to have some money in your bank account, no doubt about it. But my goodness, if money in the bank means being a horrible human being, then I think blessed are the poor, right? Maybe that's why we've been hearing our whole life, blessed are the poor. You know, your life should not be determined by how much money you have in the bank, and you having a lot of money in the bank should not equate to you being a bad person. So again, if you've never heard of minimalism, or if you don't really know too much about what it is, it's the idea that a lot of the things that we buy, they might gratify us for the moment that we're buying them, but in the grand scheme of things, they are super not important, you know? I guess what really blows me away is that, I don't know if you guys heard this, but Diddy actually said, hey, if you guys let me prepare my defense from home. Let me live at home while I'm getting ready for trial. And I will put up $50 million of bail or bond money, whatever it's called. And apparently not one, but two judges said, heck no, you're a flight risk, you're dangerous, you're the type that'll go to every person that's gonna be testifying against you and you'll threaten them. And so he was denied that. So from what I understand, he is in just one of the meanest, toughest, hell on earth type prisons. And a lot of people feel like he's going to have a really hard time at this prison. The scary thing is supposedly this guy is worth close to $1 billion. So 50 million bucks to him is just a drop in the bucket. The reason this guy has $50 million is because every single one of us worshipped this guy, purchased his music, validated every single thing that he did in life. We treated him like a god. And look what happens when you treat these entertainers like they're special. Pretty soon they take advantage of that. So I think that should be a cautionary tale to us, that none of these people deserve half of the adoration and accolades that we give them. Half of them don't even do good when they are bestowed with money. Half of them use that money to do horrible, dastardly things. Now, are there good actors and actresses and famous people out there? Yes, there's a lot of them. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying that all of them are worthless. It's funny, I look at somebody like Dolly Parton, right? Dolly Parton does a lot of stuff. She's helped out a lot of people. And I feel like when she helps out people, I feel like there's not some negative connotation with it. On the flip side, I feel like when other people like Oprah Winfrey and The Rock and all these different people, I feel like when they help people, it's not really them helping people, it's them getting average people to help. Like with the Hawaiian thing. Did you guys realize that with the Hawaiian thing, Oprah and The Rock went out on TV and they said, hey, we need you guys to help us. Well, Oprah, you're worth $100 billion or whatever the heck you're worth. You have the ability with the snap of your fingers to help every single person. So it comes across as disingenuous, when you're saying that you're helping a lot of people, but in reality, you're just asking your fans to send donations in. That's not really you helping at all, Oprah. So we have a lot of fake, phony, plastic people in Hollywood. And again, for some reason, we pay homage to these people and we act like what they're doing is something great and special. Do you guys remember about 25 years ago, Oprah was famous for, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. Guys, she didn't give anybody shit. That was a car manufacturer that gave people those vehicles, right? Oprah basically just made it happen. And every single one of those people ended up having to pay the taxes on those vehicles. Now, should you pay taxes on gifts? Yes. But a lot of those people were never able to take possession of those cars because they didn't have the money for the taxes. And it's one of those things where the richest entertainer of all time, Oprah Winfrey, she couldn't even pay the taxes for the people that she gave the cars to. So it's like, we all look at her and think, God, what a great human being. I don't know if she is or not. Has she done some good stuff for people? I suppose, but even these schools that she opened up in Africa, I even heard that some of them were kind of not the best, Now, don't get me wrong. I think sometimes people mean well, but they don't necessarily follow through. But with Oprah Winfrey, I just think that we're going to end up finding out, just like we did with other people through the years, I think we're going to end up finding out she's not exactly the most worthwhile human being to follow on the planet either. Is she Puff Daddy? Of course not. But you want to know something weird? We're starting to find out that there's a lot of other people that are coming forth because of this P Diddy thing. I even heard another rumor that a lot of famous people are starting to erase a lot of interactions they had with Diddy online. What do you mean, Jesse? Well, I've heard that a lot of people are going back to their Twitter account, now known as X, and they're erasing old posts. And so a lot of YouTubers are leaving comments saying, why are you guys erasing all your posts? Those posts are still retrievable by the authorities and stuff. Man, if it's true, and if we end up finding out that Diddy, in order to lessen his sentence, ends up ratting on a bunch of people, this could be one of the biggest scandals in the history of the world. This could be one of those things where a handful of people that we have known, loved watching their movies, loved watching or listening to their music. I think we're going to find out that a lot of those people that really made up our young childhood adult lives, right? Because we were listening to these musics while we were out with friends partying. Man, I think we're going to really be disappointed in a lot of people. Like, holy moly. I don't know if you guys remember, but a couple days ago I was talking about Bryce Young, a quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, who was benched. And he was the number 1 overall pick the previous year in the NFL draft. So this guy that he comes to the league with all these expectations and all these accolades. He was a champion in college. So you're thinking that he's going to be the next savior for your football team. Well, he ends up being benched, right? He gets replaced by this quarterback named Andy Dalton, who instead of 5'9" or 5'10" like Bryce Young, I think Andy Dalton is more along the lines of 6'2", 6'3", maybe even 6'4". So he ends up coming in and ends up being the absolute worst thing ever for a person like Bryce to see. This guy comes in, and all of a sudden, instead of scoring 0 or very few points, I think they ended up putting up 36 points. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking, Jesse, I don't even like sports. Why are you bringing up these things? Because imagine, sometimes that happens in life. Sometimes your boss ends up recruiting or finding some great person to come in, and all of a sudden the job that maybe you couldn't do, all of a sudden this other person is doing your job, and they're doing it really good, really well. And all of a sudden that puts a lot of pressure on you, and your days at your job might be numbered because of that. Well, how do we handle those things in life? I think what we have to realize is that sometimes you are that stud that is replacing somebody that can't do something. And then at other times, you're that person that's being replaced. And that's just a fact of life. And you could take away the job and you could list that about relationships and the whole 9 yards. Some of us are going to be in relationships where before we know it, we're the one being replaced. Some of us are going to be in jobs where before we know it, we're going to be the one replaced. Now you can throw your hands up at the air and curse the Lord. How could you do this to me? Or what you can say is, hey, that's a fact of life. We're all in this situation that's constantly evolving, constantly changing. What can we do to put ourselves in the best position for success? I believe one of the best things we can do is have a situation where we're prepared. If a boss is going to eliminate you, make sure you're ready just in case that day comes. Don't expect it to come. Stay positive. But if it does come, put yourself in a position where it's not so devastating. If you feel like your spouse wants to leave you, words don't necessarily change things. So in other words, if your spouse is willing to leave you, one of the things I found out in life is that begging and pleading for your spouse or your significant other to stay usually doesn't work. There's something weird that happens when people start to have a wayward eye and start to move on. When that happens, a lot of times you're kind of powerless to do anything about it. And I say this because I can remember throughout the last 30 years, I've had that horrible situation happen once or twice where all of a sudden you kind of realize that your days with somebody are numbered, and it can be very, very painful. Guys, when I was 18, I remember I was at my friend Jesse's house. Yeah, he has the same name as I do. He was known as Jesse O, and I was Jesse J, right? But Jesse O and I were there at his house thinking about, hey, what are we going to do this weekend? Let's have fun. Let's maybe throw a party or something, right? And all of a sudden, I got a phone call from my girlfriend slash fiance, the mother of my daughter, and she basically broke up with me over a phone call. And it was really one of the most tough, horrible situations of my life. So I get this phone call. I'm there with my buddy. And imagine just going from elation because you think that you and your buddy are going to get some friends together and throw a party. And all of a sudden, you're literally shell-shocked and you're telling your friend, holy shit, that was Angie. She just broke up with me. And guys, from that day, from that phone call on, my life was in turmoil. Even today, this very, very walk that I am on, it is predicated on the idea that if I would have never gotten that phone call, I don't even think I would be talking with you guys today. My life at the age of 18 was so good. Yes, I found out that me and my girlfriend were going to have a child. Yes, that's scary as hell. But we both had decent paying jobs. We both were good students. We had a game plan that involved me going to school, us both working, raising our daughter, and then after I went to school or after we got our footing underneath us, she would go to school too, right? And we would have this really good team. Even when I was 17, 18, 19 years old, I appreciated the team aspect of what a husband and wife could be. But you want to know something? Despite all the conversations thinking that we were on the same page, I quickly found out that the mother of my child did not want to be a teammate with me. And so at the age of 18 on, maybe 19 on, I quickly realized that my future was going to be one of visitation. I was going to start seeing my daughter X amount of times a week, and the love of my life, I was no longer going to be able to see or date her or anything. And then that same woman ended up dating a lot of our circle of friends, which is just really tacky. You know, a lot of times you'll find out these stories that when a guy and a woman break up, the guy ends up dating the woman's best friend, and these horrible situations. We should, as humans, never put ourselves in those situations. Do they happen? Yes. Can people that are good people find themselves doing dastardly things? Yes, but there's one thing that you should do as a human being is if you break up with somebody, don't start dating their best friend. Don't start dating their circle of friends. There's billions of people on the planet. Date somebody outside of your circle of friends. Because I look back at what the mother of my daughter did to me as we were 17, 18, 19 years old, and I think to myself, golly, those are the marks of a horrible person. But I try to forgive her because who wants to hold these horrible feelings towards an 18 or 19-year-old girl? I have to assume that she was going through some tough times at that point. Do I want to be with this Jesse character for the rest of my life? You know, because keep in mind, when we're 18 or 19, we're only a couple years into the dating game. Many people are still virgins at 18 or 19. You know, here I was, me and my ex, we were having a child that, you know, we were doing things that were greatly affecting our future. And man, when somebody wants to quit a relationship with you, and if somebody all of a sudden doesn't see you as their partner, but they see you as their ex, you know, that's a real tough deal, because in this country, most people see their ex as their enemy. Should you see your ex as your enemy? No, you should still see them as your partner when it comes to taking care of a child that you have between the two of you. But that's just not the reality, is it? Usually somebody that you go through a divorce with, they almost always become your foe. And literally my whole life affected from something I did when I was 18 years old. We all have these moments. You know, right now, if what we find out about the Justin Bieber rumors are true, then I'm going to look at his mom in a totally different way than I used to. I used to look at it and I used to say, wow, what a caring family. He was so lucky. Man, you couldn't pay me enough to switch places with Justin Bieber. All these people that we've been talking about over the last couple months, Shannon Doherty with her cancer and her passing, right? Justin Bieber. These are people that millions of kids and millions of people wish they could be. I wouldn't want to be any of them. So here's the good news. You're supposed to be exactly who you are, and all the experiences we go through, whether they're good, they're bad, or they're ugly, they are the makeup that make us who we are. And everything you've ever put in your body is the reason that you look the way you are and you're the weight that you are. All of that change does not come externally. It comes from within. We have to learn to focus on the man and woman in the mirror, and we have to try to make right decisions, because when you make poor decisions, they almost always affect your future negatively. So don't put off till tomorrow your walk. Get your shoes on and start right now. There's never a better time than the present to change your life. I'm sorry if my event seemed negative. To me, it seems Twilight Zoney. We grew up in a world where things were not what they appeared, and a lot of the people we idolized weren't worth idolizing. So with that being said, let's go into the future with eyes wide open. Let's have clarity in our mind, and let's have a clean heart, and let's tackle this demon that's holding us down, this weight situation. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow.